All right, what is up? Run Pure Sports. Do a little Hardwood here. NBA Hardwood, AP, Mangone, myself, Holden. We'll do up to lock normal style tonight. So for those of you that are subscribers, we will have our show starting at 6:30 Eastern. Remember, it's a little bit of a later start tonight. Just a 6-gamer on DraftKings and then a 4-gamer on DraftKings as well. You know, AP, I think we talked about this yesterday too, how it's a little bit different. And really you don't have to sit next to the computer quite as long on a Friday night now with this, right? Just a little 6-gamer and breaking it up into 2 slates. You're going to play both slates. Would that be correct? Or are you just playing one?
No, playing both slates. The contests for both are awesome. And it's broken up. We have 6 main slates for the main slate, or 6 games for the main slate, and 4 games for the secondary slate, which I believe starts at 10 Eastern. So there's this $4 100K up top for the first one. I think $25K up top for the second one. It's 25 or 35. Really nice contest, though. Really fun for multi-entry players. And Holden, just like they're doing this, and it's nice, but it still cost me a little bit of money last night. Actually, I broke even last night, which was nice, but I missed some of the starting lineup changes that we saw, like Jordan Poole getting benched, which brought Bilo Coulibaly up to the starting lineup. You know, I had to drive across town, take the boy to swim practice, and then it's like you're walking up, and there was like this event going on at the same time too. A bunch of like middle schoolers or high schoolers or something. There might have been a fight going on, and I was just like, I'm not getting involved in that. Just kids up to no good, but it was like just an insane amount of kids in the spot, and I just lost all focus and forgot about my DFS stuff. But it ended up being a fine night.
Mango, talk to me, buddy. I know you got important things going on behind the scenes. What are the plans tonight for Mango? Are you playing 2 slates, 1 slate? Are you staying home? Are you going out and partying? What's the plan, Mangone?
No partying. I am hanging out. I am doing the slate. So got the first 150 fired in that one, doing the other one, and I'm mainly focusing on the 150 tonight. I think it's sometimes I try to do too much. I'm like in the MME streets and the single entry. I'm mainly focusing on the MME. Want to dial that in pretty good. Did a good job with that on FanDuel yesterday. They had a nice little $5 that I made a little bit of money on, so I was happy about that. But I want to dial in the MME a bit, and I'm going to be playing the slates. Obviously, we got some big news about Jamal Murray that recently came out that kind of just shakes up the slate instantly from what we had thought it could look like, maybe just like 20 minutes ago. So I'm excited to dive in, though. Again, it's a big contest. We don't get these as much, and like, for someone like some of you guys out there might play like smaller volume. And if you do, this is a great opportunity to MME if you want to. So I think overall, I'm excited for this slate. I think it's going to be a good one. We'll break it all down, and hopefully there'll be some RPS logos at the top.
Who put that up there? Not me. AP did it. AP.
I like it, though. I like the support. The support for Chiefs Kingdom. It's nice to see Mangone on the winning side for once. I appreciate it.
I have to apologize to AP for, not betting on Pat Mahomes. And so much, Holden, that during the break, right, they had Madden Sims going on. And I signed up for the Chiefs Madden Sims, and Pat Mahomes captain. He won me all the cheese. I won a bunch of money that Madden Sim slate. I know you have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, I heard of the Madden Sim. You need to get outside, buddy. The weather's getting better here.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to get outside when you're playing Madden Sims, but it was pretty boring over the old NBA All-Star break.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, that's right. I haven't talked to you since that one. That was a full week. We did have this conversation yesterday. I thought it was interesting. Lamp P, y'all said about yesterday, DK, what y'all said. All right, whatever. Basically, no more late swap. Wait. We were talking about that, me and Schlong and AP yesterday, Mangone. I wonder if you think that maybe DK is going in that direction. FanDuel too, for that matter.
No, I think they're gonna have late swap no matter what, because no one just wants to have like a 0 on their teams. I think I like how they've cut some things down. I don't think it's a bad thing overall. I think optionality is really, really good. I think if FanDuel wants to go the other way and like load up on all the games, I don't think that's bad. I mean, some people want to do that, right? Some people want to be there all night grinding it out. If they did the no late swap thing, the problem is you have all these people complain about like, oh man, there's no late swap. I do like the game theory aspect of, listen, if Anthony Davis, like let's say he was on the slate and he was questionable or like doubtful, well, then you have to like make your own adjustments on projections because they haven't made the adjustment. So from just like a game theory aspect, I think it's a really interesting one. I used to like that. Like I even loved when FanDuel did drop the lowest score, because when you drop the lowest score, you could drop it at so like any different spot. Like maybe center was weak that night and you would just punt the position completely. Like there were some interesting strategies. Like anything that's going to add, as you like to say, Holden, strategery, I'm in on. So
I love strategery. I'm all about strategery, my friend. And not only that, but FanDuel does have the 10-game slate tonight. So if you want to play on that abomination of a site, by all means, we're going to talk about the 6-gamer for DraftKings. I don't know. There's a couple other things that came out NBA wise I did want to discuss. You guys see the fans calling KD a bitch yesterday? Literally called him a bitch. While he was
I love the fact that he like went right back up to him.
Yes.
And then they reverse course right away. Like the lady's trying to dab him up too. I mean, I thought it was hilarious.
And the guy goes, I got a sports podcast. Like, who cares, bro? Get out of here. Like KD handled that perfectly. Because I don't want to say perfectly. I think the security guard should have done a better job and get in the middle, because those things can kind of get out of hand quickly. So I'll go back and say that. I like that players, though, at least can go up to fans and be like, what are you talking about? Please. And a security guard wanted to kick them out. And he's like, nope, let them stay. But this is what happens. Everybody talks shit about the players. Sometimes they'll say it to them and then they get in your face and you shut up.
Yeah.
And this is what we see.
I mean,
it's just like keyboard warriors too, though. You know, like when you agree, like it's a keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
They're not going to say it to your face. At least, I mean, I don't think they're going to say it to my face. I'm not like a small guy or anything like that. But it's like with
baseball player for saying it.
It's like with KD. Like he went right up to him and they backtracked right away. It's just it's hilarious.
Yeah. Our test knew. No, you can't ever have that. What was that, 20 years ago? The Malice in the Palace. If that happens again, good night. Like
Malice at the Palace was an all-time, man. It was.
Do you remember it? Like I remember it vividly.
I was very young.
Oh, yeah.
I remember it. Like I definitely remember it. I mean, that was because I used to watch. Those are the days I used to always watch SportsCenter like 24/7. So it was all over SportsCenter. So I was all about it. And I was like a kid, so I was definitely like didn't know exactly what was going on, but I just knew there was a fight.
Guys, please tell me, Kevin Wrightsman just upgraded my sub to include contest sims for more giblets. I didn't know Captain was working on that, AP.
I was in I think he is. I think he is working on that, which is nice. I was in college when that went down, so I thought I was like a little kid, but man, I'm old. I'm getting up there. I'm not as old as you, Holden, but I'm definitely getting up there.
I was working. I was doing a sports talk show. So I was doing Iowa Cubs AAA baseball and a sports talk show in Des Moines, Iowa. That's when that happened. I will never forget, just because I watched NBA, so much NBA back then. I was like you guys now, just total NBA, and I couldn't believe it I was seeing. Fascinating that players would go into the stands and beat the shit out of people. And then who was it? Jermaine O'Neal was on the court, and a dude starts running toward him, and he just cold cocked him, knock him out. I think if you run on a field or a court, you should be able to get your ass.
He had two dudes coming at him, and he went after both of them, right? Wasn't that him, or was that?
I just remember one, and he laid a dude out. That was it. That's all I remember from that. I watched Malice at the Palace. I've been a lifetime. Ugh, Pacers, man. That's rough to be a Pacers fan. Yeah, he was cleared too. You're right, Jake. He got sued, but he was cleared by the police. No question. The other thing that I wanted to look at real quick. Do you remember yesterday, AP? I told you I bet a Jokic triple-double because he'd had a triple-double against every team but the Nuggets and the Wizards. And then he got another
like at halftime, yesterday.
Right? Another triple-double yesterday. It's amazing. And we're going to talk about him, I guess, with Jamal Murray out on top of that. But boy, it's remarkable. Like I don't think I go to see him in person enough. I should be seeing him multiple times every year. Mangone, you live here. Have you even gotten out to see him in a game yet?
Jokic? Yeah. But I went to a bad game. Like I want to see Edwards really bad. And it was that game that D'Angelo Russell was a Timberwolf right before he got traded. He got ejected. And then, the Nuggets, like, I honestly think like the bad players, like all just like the bench players were in for like most of the third quarter and the fourth. I went to a really bad game and we left early. went downtown and got some food. So yeah, I've seen him play, and let me tell you, watching him play was really cool in person. Like, he is very impressive. I did enjoy that part. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, I love watching passing, and I'm not kidding. Like, I've always enjoyed that. I've always enjoyed the guys that have been able to pass, and he's just the best.
He did make some sick passes during the game, which was cool. So it was the game I went to, Holden. I think the Nuggets scored 50 points in the first quarter. So like the first quarter was nuts. It was just the shots were falling left and right.
Yeah, I think I might be betting another Jokic triple-double. Let's see where we can get him at. It was earlier in the year you were getting minus money. And now we're getting like plus 150.
He's going to have another one against the Blazers by like halftime. Like against these shitty teams, he just racks them up. It's like not even fair.
What about the good teams?
Yeah, I mean, against the good teams too. It's Jokic. When he's when he's motivated and I feel like just like reflecting back and looking at some of the games or watching some of the games right before the All-Star break, he seemed a little checked out. I think the Nuggets as a team did, but man, they rebounded and they looked phenomenal yesterday. So
I think you get fatigued, right? I think people forget the hungriness. It can get, you get fatigued throughout the season. And also I would love to know the correlation in Jokic getting 10 plus assists versus because I think you can make a case the assists is maybe the one he doesn't get as much. And it's probably because Michael Porter Jr. is not hitting those threes. That's just a guess. I don't have the data behind it, but the matchups like Washington and Portland, these are the ones where MPJ is just probably going to make more of his 3-pointers. It's just math, right? That's the teams that struggle against 3-pointers. It's more open looks. It's more struggles at covering on rotations, defensive assignments. It just makes some sense. I'd be curious what the numbers are on that for Jokic.
For a triple-double?
When he gets his triple-double, one, which one is it? The rebounds or assists that doesn't hit as much, and two, what's the correlation in matchups? A harder match.
It's the Sombor double, dude. Nobody has more double points, double rebounds, and 9 assists than Jokic.
Yeah,
they literally call it the Sombor double.
Yeah, I just think there's so much data. He's done it so many times. There's probably so much data that it's interesting to see who's he doing it against, when is he. Same with Luka. It'd be an interesting thing to have all that data on to consider for the future. I'm not saying it's a perfect thing, but I just think it'd be, if you're looking for if I had 2 hours to kill and could just have all the information, I'd love to dive deep into it.
All right, very good. Anything else you want to add, AP, or is it time to get into this little 6-gamer? And if we got a couple minutes, we could talk FanDuel and the other 4 games too.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm dialed in, ready to go.
All right, let's go.
I mean, the games last night were insane, though. Just speaking about quality basketball, obviously Suns, Mavs, Mangone mentioning Luka there. I mean, it's just insane what Luka does to the Suns. It's just absolutely insane. That game was so much fun to watch. And we have some really good games tonight, so it's going to be interesting.
Yep, 100%. Let's get into this. Again, 6-gamer on DraftKings. We'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button. That'd be great. Tell Mangone how great you think he is by hitting the like button. I got made fun of the other day for wearing that hat, by the way. And I also had my NWA Eazy-E shirt that was buttoned up. I did look like a gangster rapper from the 1990s.
Who made fun of you? Was it your lady? I don't know who else.
I don't know. It was just a chat person. I kind of find it funny. I liked it. I always enjoyed that. But I always like when someone makes fun of me, Holden. That means I'm doing something right. At least me too. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, whenever someone makes fun of you, it makes you feel like you're doing something right, actually. So there you go.
All right, let's get into this here. Again, a 6-gamer. Like button would be great. RPS 15. If you're trying to get in, get everybody's core plays. Our playbook is up. Our playbook, AP goes through today it's you, right? You're going through every single game, breaking down every team.
We'll have 2 playbooks. So once the 8 Eastern, so it's 7:30, 2 games start. Then the other 4 games start at 8. Once that hits, the night playbook will be up, and we'll have core plays and heat map and everything for both slates. So broken down really nicely, a lot of content, a lot of fun.
All right, I was just looking at the premium plays. The premium bets are up on the bet side, so add that too for the bet side. It's been a good week, especially in college basketball. Really enjoying what's going on there. Let's talk about a little bit of news. And again, we kind of have to, it's kind of slate specific, right? Because we don't have the Lakers early, but if you're playing later, LeBron is in, AD is questionable. So maybe I'll just go game by game. We'll do it. We're going to break down Toronto, Atlanta first here. AP, I will come to you. We're looking really at not a lot of injuries. We're going to see how much Capella plays tonight. Toronto's just fine. And I know you mentioned that the Hawks have been horrible defensively, but they're a little bit better as of late. So let's get the plays here. Toronto at Atlanta.
I mean, I think they've still been pretty bad. I mean, like they let Brandon Miller put up 47, Trey Mann 45, peripheral stats, raw scoring solid. Like Ayo DeSumo had like a monster game against them. Jalen Green, who's been pretty bad, had a monster game. We'll see. And the thing is like I don't think Clint Capella being back helps him out that much. It's not like Clint Capella was having like a phenomenal season. If anything, they've struggled across the board, even when Okongwu was in there. So Capella helps a little bit. I think I read that he's going to be on somewhat of a minutes limit. And look, it's not like he's playing 30 plus minutes throughout the season too. I think if he was a full go, that would change with no Okongwu. I don't think they really trust Bruno Fernando. They would rather give those minutes to Capella, but I think it's going to be a true time split or timeshare tonight. The other frustrating thing about the Hawks for me from a DFS standpoint is their wing rotation between Sadiq Bey, Jalen Johnson, Bogdan, and DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter came off the bench in their last game that they played, had a really nice game. He's played 28 minutes in back-to-back games. He's been very efficient, and he looks good. So, I really wonder if we, at some point in time, get a switch back to DeAndre Hunter starting in this lineup. So, I just, in today's NBA DFS world, we see lineup changes happen all the time. We saw, 2 significant ones yesterday that weren't that expected. So these are things that mentally I'm starting to note just to be aware of. I don't think it happens tonight, but it definitely could because DeAndre Hunter obviously was originally a starter over Sadiq Bey. Again, the other thing too is DeJounte Murray at 7,500. This is one of the more frustrating pieces for me. Over the last 10 games, he's had 2 games where he's nuked for 59 and 60. And I think Trae Young was in both those games too. And then it's every other game, he's been pretty terrible, hasn't really paid off his price tag. So at this price and on this slate, he's getting some ownership right now. And I'm really torn on what to do with him. I'm always torn on what to do with the Hawks. The Hawks side is always a little bit frustrating for me. So how I kind of summed it up is I'm not prioritizing anyone here. Does that mean I'm fading the Hawks? No, it doesn't. It's just I'm not prioritizing anyone. If one of these guys, Jalen Johnson, falls into my lineup, I think I would be fine with it. I do have far more interest in the Raptors side. I still don't trust this Hawks team defensively. It'll be interesting to watch tonight. Scotty Barnes is the guy that I have a ton of interest in. I like the positional flexibility that you get. Point guard, shooting guard eligible. 8.8K on this slate is not bad. Scotty Barnes has shown a massive ceiling when he is on. He had a big games against Cleveland recently, against Indiana, where he hit 60. And we're getting more of point Scotty, and that's what I like to see. That's where that upside comes from. So I trust Scotty Barnes a lot here. I think Gary Trent is fine. I don't trust Quickly as much. I think he's overpriced slightly, and we have to keep an eye on RJ Barrett, who was downgraded to questionable coming into this. So I would be curious to see what they do. I would probably think that Bruce Brown would have a monster role, and then maybe we get a little bit more Kelly Olynyk off the bench. But really on the Raptors side, we should get a tight rotation, and we should have interest in quite a few of these pieces.
All right, very good. We got a good breakdown there from AP on game number 1, Mangone, Toronto at Atlanta. So my question is for you is, are there any priorities in this one today?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those spots where I always talk about it. Atlanta is a team that, are they on the slate? Yes. If they are, we need to consider them, right? Kind of like the flow charts we always talk about. Are they on the slate? Yes, let's play them. So we want to play some Toronto options. One thing I do want to point out with Scotty Barnes, I will say I've been doing a betting thread on Twitter a little bit with some underdog picks, and I do have Scotty Barnes under, and projections just like the under on him, but that doesn't mean I can't like him in DFS. I think the big debate with him is he's all about his ceiling, I think at 8.8K, he is one of those guys that if you look at a lot of studs in that range, the range of outcomes for him is very, very wide. It feels like he's got that like 65, 70 point ceiling that he can flash, and he can flash that in this matchup. But if he got you like, I don't know, like 32, 35 DK points, that would not shock me just because of the volatility that he has. And also, I think Toronto has enough other scoring options that you could see Scotty not put up the production, right? You have Emmanuel Quickly, you have RJ Barrett, you have a lot of these options that could easily do well. So I like Scotty Barnes. I want to think a little bit about him because I do think he's gaining ownership. I know he is on the flow chart. I looked at that earlier today, and I think he's a good play, but I want to think about the other studs in that range because I think it's an important thing to note. Emmanuel Quickly at 6.9K. I don't mind his ceiling in this matchup. We know what he can do, especially when he gets hot. So I think he's in play. Jakob Poeltl at 6.2K. I do think he is another option that I want to consider. Atlanta has been awful against big men. And, AP did mention, Capel's on that minutes limit, and I agree. But regardless, both teams want to play big, right? This Atlanta team loves to try and play big as much as possible. So Poeltl will get his run. That's the one thing you worried a little bit with Toronto is if for some reason that they're playing a team that wants to go small, and same with Atlanta, sometimes they would do it. They could easily kind of go Scotty at that 4, or even at the 5 on some really crazy options, or throw a Kelly Olynyk in there. So, yeah, I think that's worth mentioning there. Atlanta, I think Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, all these options, I just think it's a little crowded. Sure, is Okongwu out? Yes, he is out, but I think it's too crowded for this slate with some of the other pieces of news that we have. So I'm not super excited about the Atlanta options. I think it's more so liking some of these Toronto options because they're playing a matchup against Atlanta that is just easy to target. I feel like there's going to be some pretty good ceiling games here. Just like AP and I were talking about in the Discord. We're talking about the Washington Wizards and how it's a spot to attack a lot or play some guys. You can make the case that Atlanta is one of those teams that you want to attack. So you're going to want some Toronto Raptors on this slate for sure.
Ooh. Oh, we got Alex in here. Grady Dick night. Shout out to Phallic. Is it a Grady Dick night?
I mean, look, if RJ Barrett's out, we know the Raptors are running somewhat of a tight rotation. We know the guys that they don't really want to play. And Grady Dick wasn't really on my radar, but 22, 21, 21, 16 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. If RJ Barrett's out, there may be worse plays to take a shot on. But
yeah,
I do think
does nothing else though, AP.
Yeah, and that's where I would rather target some of these punt dudes like a Cason Wallace against the Wizards. Look at and I know we're not to that game yet, but the Nuggets all of these second units get extended against the Wizards because they're ass cheeks. They're that bad. They're that bad. And you see the second unit get there against the Wizards so often. I just don't know if that's going to be the case here tonight against the Hawks. But the Hawks, another bad defensive team. So there's definitely worse plays out there.
Okay, let's talk about the site here for a second. Is he necessary on this slate? No, he's not. He's never necessary on the slate. Although we had a lot of stuff open up yesterday, didn't we? Some cheapies. Do we have to play those guys? No. Again, you don't have to play anybody.
No, definitely not.
But Grady Dick in particular, I don't think we need to go crazy about him right now. Anyways, like button, RPS 15% off your first payment. AP, I'm going to come at you to promote the site, okay? And then Mangone will have it next time. But NBA, tennis streets are going well, soccer, golf. We got a lot to offer here at RPS, but NBA specific. Can you talk about the playbook, core plays, etc.?
Yeah, so we're working on making updates, a fresh coat of paint, if you want to call it, to a lot of our content pieces. Ooh. The playbook, we're trying to make it better. Talked about some of the surveys, some of the feedback that we got back. We're implementing those changes kind of as we go. There are certain content pieces that we've already made some changes to that I think are really nice. The cheat sheet in golf. I think the cheat sheet in golf is awesome. You get to see exactly where a lot of our main golf guys are at as far as what plays that they like. We're using that format too in NASCAR. NASCAR was a ton of fun. Obviously, Daytona is insanely volatile and random, but I had a ton of fun playing it. I lost a little money. That's fine. shout out to member Brittany. Absolutely killed it again on an absolute heater.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of good things. We're working on making the content better, easier to understand. Just trying to look out for the members. That's what we're doing here.
I'm still very concerned about this whole thing that you sent out, this survey you sent out. First of all, I didn't get a survey. You're being very, very quiet about it. Very, very Mangone.
Yeah, it was a lot of questions about, what do you think about Holden?
Right. Makes me nervous.
Rate him on a scale to 1 to 10.
0.
Is he offensive?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very,
no,
very.
It was none of that. None of that.
Mangone, I'm very concerned. That's all I'm saying.
Nothing to be concerned about.
All right. Very good. I love you both.
I didn't answer the survey either, but if you guys do have any, issues with changes, I know people don't like change for what it's worth, but if you don't like something or you think something's a great addition, tell us. How are we supposed to just guess? We don't know what's going on in your brain. And yeah, so I think that's a helpful thing that just feel free to DM us. Hey, I really like this. I don't like this.
Let me give Holden an example of one of the questions. First, I had these introductory questions, just asking, what do you typically play? How often are you playing? It was NBA specific, but it was, very simple stuff. But I wanted people to put, effort into it. Tell me one thing that you like about the current NBA playbook. Tell me one thing that you dislike. You have to answer both.
There's nothing I dislike about the playbook.
That's not an acceptable answer.
Why?
There's always there's always something that you can improve on. There's always. Another thing was how important are the game-by-game write-ups? Because NBA, the meta of NBA DFS is changing. With how news drops, I got to thinking, is it even important to have an NBA DFS, write-up, a game-by-game write-up? Is that important anymore? Because news drives everything. Projections drive everything. So there was a lot of questions like that, and the feedback was really good. So, again, appreciate everyone for helping me out with that did.
All right, let's get to game number 2, and that would be the Cavs at the Sixers. Donovan Mitchell, big question mark right now. Batum's questionable. Kyle Lowry out fat. He's trying to get back into shape, so they're not going to play him back-to-back on this. Mangone, I'll come down to you first on this game. So, again, we're still waiting on a big piece of the puzzle with Mitchell. I think Melton is questionable as well. No Embiid, no Covington. We know all this stuff. What do you want to do with this game? Is this an attractive game or a pass? Because last night we all liked a few Cleveland plays.
Yeah, I do want to address the chat. People don't like my background anymore. They're off the background, they say. We got to give it some time. You got to give respect to Pat Mahomes. And, hey, you don't pay for this, right? This is free. So you'll get the free backdrop for now. We'll figure something out when it comes. You got to let it happen organically. But let's dive into this next one. We are on the Cavaliers, and I don't know why I lost my page. There we go.
Cavaliers Sixers.
Yes, Cavaliers Sixers. And
I just love the fact that Mangone had all these notes prepared. I mean, look at this. Mangone, Mr. Prepared.
He's
with
reading
notes
your
and everything.
playbook, just like I am.
No way. He's got his own stuff. That's what I love.
I got this stuff up and everything. And for what it's worth, the Donovan Mitchell stuff yesterday, I mean, that was a surprise piece of news that we had. We weren't really expecting him, I don't think, to be out. I do think that Donovan Mitchell, if he's out, this is obviously going to be a humongous piece of news on this slate. So you can make an argument that if he's out, the slate completely changes. I think Donovan Mitchell, it's hard to make a decision on all this without it, but if he's out, you need to understand this is going to be a big piece of news that you have to react to. Playing against the Sixers, it's not like the Sixers is this amazing spot, but still playing against Sixers. And I think the Sixers side of the ball, it's one that I really want to stay away from. Now, we were playing the Sixers a lot when Joel Embiid was out. Why were we playing them? Well, one, Tyrese Maxey got a boost. You also had a really nice boost for Tobias Harris. And also, Tobias Harris's price tag was not going up. The thing is, with the addition of Buddy Hield and some of these other guys, it really does feel like these Sixers are priced out a bit. I do not like the Sixers and single entry 3-max stuff. And MME, you could totally make some kind of case for it, but this is a spot I want to be more under on for sure. The Cavaliers, though, this could be a spot we really want to load up on. I mean, Garland, Allen, Mobley, they barely went up in price. And I mean, we had people in our Discord chat saying that Darius Garland was dead after one half with 9 DK points. And then what does he do? 30 DK points in the second half. We know that he's supposed to be a 7 or 7.5K, maybe even 7.8K guy in this spot. So Darius Garland, phenomenal play if Mitchell is out. Evan Mobley at 7K, another great play. Jared Allen, Struss, you're going to have to like all of them. I'm not as excited about those value plays. I just don't think they're as enticing as more of the mid-tier options. And if Donovan Mitchell is ruled out, this is going to make the mid-tier construction a little stronger, I think, too, because we don't have yesterday's value yet. We're gaining some value. We'll have to see what happens by the time we hit 7:30 Eastern. But overall, this is a game we're going to have to like, especially if Donovan Mitchell is out.
All right. So are you as high on this one as Mangone is, especially if Donovan Mitchell is out, Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, I mean, I basically had Garland as like a lock. I think like over 90% in my lineups yesterday. And the slow start, honestly, I wasn't that concerned about it. These things happen, is what it is. And he turned it on, obviously, really late. Maybe that leaves like a bad taste in people's mouth. I don't think so. But look, like we talked about it yesterday. The matchup against the Magic, like we broke it down with the understanding that we didn't know if Donovan Mitchell was going to be in or out. And then when we were off the show, I think he ended up getting ruled out. Maybe it was like as the show was ending. But I don't think we were able to talk about that scenario. Garland just became an absolute lock. And like Orlando's like a tough matchup anyway. And so now we get Philly, definitely a better team to attack, especially when you're comparing this situation to the Orlando Magic. And Garland got there. Mobley got there. 40 DK points for Mobley. The thing about like Evan Mobley, he's so much more aggressive this year. He's put on a little bit of size. You got to like what you see in Evan Mobley. And at 7K right now, even starting alongside Jared Allen, I think he's too cheap. I think he should be, mid to upper 7K range, kind of where he was at earlier in the season. So again, this is going to be, and this is where it is tougher doing NBA content. We're trying to provide the best plays that we possibly can, but you're working under assumptions right now. And, the assumptions here is Mitchell could play, he could not play. If he doesn't play, I'm going right back to Darius Garland, probably a lock for me. I'm going right back to Max Strus. Max Strus was like 6% owned last night. He was a phenomenal play. I bumped him because I'm looking at, this is where like we have so much going on sometimes, and I have my own opinions and I'm stubborn and I always like stick to my own opinions. But I saw Max Strus was in JVC's core, and I revisited the situation. I bumped him up and I ended up getting overweight on Max Strus, and it wasn't hard to get overweight on him, and he did very well for me yesterday. And I think he was like 6% owned and put up 34 DK points. So Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, the same thing. The one guy to be cautious with is Caris LeVert. His role does not change. He comes off the bench, so Mitchell's out. Projections all bumped up Caris LeVert. I think he was 15 to 16% owned in the flagship contest, and his role really did not change very much. So that's something definitely to note. He came off the bench, played 27, 28 minutes. So my opinion on him is not going to change very much in this spot. Could he get there at 5,300? Yeah, for sure. He definitely could. But if his ownership is going to be overinflated like it was yesterday, I'm not going to have any interest. All right. So Max Strus in the contest I was in, and it was just the MME contest in smaller field stuff. He was not 20%. I think as you go up in stakes, he would have been higher. But I'm pretty sure he was. Mango, you know what his ownership was yesterday, Max Strus, in the flagship? I can pull up a lineup.
I don't know. I'll admit he wasn't on my single entry or 3 max teams. He wasn't on any of my main ones that I played. So I don't know. I just thought Garland and I thought Garland and Mobley were just locks.
6.06% in the flagship 100K to first. Now, I assume if you go up in up in entry fees into the higher buy-in contest, his ownership most likely went up. He was a very sharp play yesterday. But in sum, the Cleveland side is going to be a side that we want to be on if Donovan Mitchell's out. If he's not out, it just waters down everything. So it's a situation that you could definitely avoid. You could still play Darius Garland. He feels too cheap. You could still play Evan Mobley. He still feels too cheap. I agree 100% with Mangone on the Philly side. Philly's prices have not adjusted down. They're still priced way up. Buddy Hield, almost 7K, is kind of ridiculous now with them getting more healthy. So I'm definitely going to be underweight on the Philly side.
All right, guys, 2 down. We got 4 to go. Again, if you're playing FanDuel, and I know somebody in the chat was just saying, hey, guys, give us some FanDuel stuff. But we'll cover that on Up to Lock. This is a free show. Up to Lock show, JSU. No Big T today. Last night, they were very, very mean last night. They were mean to me, AP, and Mangone. They didn't let me host the show, and I was hurt, and they let Fallick on. And did either one of them, were they successful last night? Because I was
it's like a rare show that I miss, Up to Lock. I just had so much going on that I needed to like focus. But it's rare that I miss the Up to Lock show. It's very rare.
I did watch. I mean, they had Kevin there. They just had too many people, and I don't know. Sometimes it's just that's how it goes. You got They were going through the Saber Sim stuff too a little bit, and kind of talking about different projections, and showing a little bit insight on how to use Saber Sim, which is a great product here that you can get as an add-on tool over here at Run Pure Sports, along with some of the other projections and other things that we have. So, I like those shows a lot. I think they show a lot of different insight on kind of what we're doing and how we're thinking about things, and I think they help you guys out.
You know, one thing that we should do. So, sorry, Holden, just interrupting you, but
I'm fine.
Is this a DraftKings show? This is definitely like a DraftKings biased show. Yeah. We typically talk DraftKings pricing, and why do we do that? The contests are just better on DraftKings, but we will talk more about FanDuel. What we should do though is we need to get Third and Schlog a spot on the FanDuel core sheet, because you know there's certain spots that are always blank, and that dude is absolutely smashing FanDuel. So we need to get him a core spot. I'll make sure that happens.
Yeah, to be fair, so I've had more success on FanDuel in NBA this season for sure, and
then we need Mangone to have a core spot on there. Take my core spot. My results on FanDuel are always they're not as good as you.
I like FanDuel. The one thing I'll say about FanDuel specifically, and this is a broad scope and overview. If you're watching this show and we're talking DraftKings, a lot of these like stars and scrubs builds don't happen on FanDuel just because of the construction. There's a lot of those like a lot of those studs, like for instance, like some of them like Anthony Davis are way too high, but there's a lot of really good studs like a Kawhi Leonard that sometimes is just way too cheap on FanDuel specifically. So FanDuel is definitely a different animal. Like Trae Young, for instance, he's way too cheap over there today on FanDuel compared to a site like a DraftKings. I think value, like those 3K values are just so valuable on a site like DraftKings that lead to more of those stars and scrubs builds. And it's not the same on a site like FanDuel. So that's a small little thing I can mention as well. But I like FanDuel. I think towards the end of the season, I'm going to play there a little bit more than DK just because I've been having more success there. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I know you don't have to apologize for just playing FanDuel. JBC's been killing FanDuel slates. So when you're a subscriber, we actually do spend a ton of time on FanDuel. Like you'll get all the content back there, no question. You get in the Discord, and basically you can ask any of our coordinators that are in the NBA chat. They're always there. You can ask them questions. But for our shows, we basically focus on DraftKings, and then on the Up to Lock show, we go out of our way to mention FanDuel a little bit.
Another thing, Holden, too, with FanDuel, like someone said, Curry is cheaper on FanDuel. Well, why is Curry cheaper? Well, one thing is because 3-point bonus on DraftKings helps out Curry a lot. Turnovers might hurt him a little bit more because the -1, that's something that hurt Russell Westbrook. And like stocks are key. Like if you can find guys that, like if there's a play that's like a really good play that we talked about on DK, and he has the ability to get you like 6 to 8 stocks if he has like a ceiling performance, it just has a ton of value on a site like FanDuel, especially when you're searching for ceiling performances to win in tournaments. So I kind of think about the stock upside too when I kind of build on FanDuel a little bit as well. Like, for instance, Luka and Jokic, they don't pop as much because there's no triple-double bonus. Like the triple-double bonus is really big for them. And the turnovers, those can hurt them too as well, those -1. So
and they're always so expensive. They're like so expensive.
Yes. Like I was saying, AP, some of those like studs are like way too much, while some of the other studs, they just don't get the respect. And there's typically enough of them for sure.
All right, just real quick.
Is this true?
What?
I didn't want to.
What'd you put up? We put the same thing up.
This Holden's sweater looks like it's made of a humpback whale.
It is. It's made out of real baleen. I got to tell you, cleaning is it was a little much. It smells like whale sometimes. What's my beef with FanDuel, Alm? 2 horrible customer service experiences, and then their prize pools suck. So
did you say cleaning is horrible?
Cleaning is horrible?
Is that what you said?
Is horrible, and cleaning in general.
Oh, cleaning that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like in my own world,
I actually am in charge
of
my household. Like my wife actually does everything, but
yeah.
I clean the basement. That's my area, and it's actually I kind of like it. Yeah, it's my like zen time. Go on down and clean. Nope. With the vacuum, make sure the lines are super nice and even. I take pride in it, Holden.
All right,
you don't like to do it?
I'm just going to put this up here so we can get back to basketball. Do you know? Oh, there we go. Do you know what Amen Thompson's full name is? I was not aware of the whole name. So he's got this XLNC in there. Do you know how you pronounce that? Excellent.
I do not.
So Amen, the Thompson twins have been playing lately too, man. Amen, Excellence Thompson. That's what we got for Amen. Very interesting name. Anyways, I asked to speak to a FanDuel manager. They left him on hold too long. No. First time was bad. The second time was worse. And I said, screw you guys. Anyways, and then they gave me a free roll, and I won that tournament during football season. Then I pulled my money out again. So we're on the Suns and Rockets because I was talking about Amen Thompson. Bradley Beal is officially out. Nurkic is doubtful. Tari Eason is out. I should say, is out. And the Suns are playing the back end of a back-to-back. Mr. AP, maybe you could start with this Sun side with Beal out again tonight and a tighter rotation. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, so both teams lost. The Rockets got absolutely demolished by the Pels last night. A Pelicans team without Brandon Ingram. Pelicans team that looked, man, when they're playing like that, they're going to be really tough. I'm like so excited for this stretch of basketball because I think it's just completely up in the air. I think Boston right now, if healthy, I think they're the best team, followed by the Nuggets. But outside of that, it's like wide open, like absolutely wide open. And like the Suns, when Bradley Beal's playing, they're going to be tough. The problem is he can't ever stay healthy with his hamstring issues, and it's going to be a huge problem for this Suns team. We know Devin Booker, Kevin Durant both play massive minutes. We know the Suns' rotation is going to be very tight. It was last night. Like KD played 40 minutes. Devin Booker, who was awesome, played over 39 minutes. You got to love what you're seeing even from like Grayson Allen. His role right now kind of ever changing. We've seen a game where he had double-digit assists. He was just dropping dimes left and right. And then we've had games yesterday where it's all about Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And, that's just he's playing and he's hitting threes. Like he is shooting lights out from beyond the arc. So I like this team, how they're constructed. They need to work on things defensively. That's going to be an issue tonight with Nurkic are likely out. I think doubtful. Drew Eubanks. So this is like the interesting thing tonight. When you look at this game from a matchup standpoint, you have Şengün on the other side. That tells me that Drew Eubanks should have to play decent minutes, but Drew Eubanks has been terrible. He's been so bad. He's been so bad that, like, I still think the Suns could go small. They like to go small. We saw a nice performance from Royce O'Neal last night. They could go right back to that. If they do, Şengün is going to feast. He's going to get whatever he wants. Like with KD down there at the 5, he's going to get literally whatever he wants. So there's a few pieces here where I do think you have to be somewhat careful. Drew Eubanks going to be a strong value play. But again, I think there's risk there because he's been so bad. And then it's Royce O'Neal off the bench. He's going to be a decent play as well. He's projecting really well right now. But for me, it's we do have a lack of studs outside of SGA on this slate. And so I'm looking at Devin Booker. I'm looking at Kevin Durant. One thing I've been doing is either or and not playing these guys together. I'm over-projecting them and then creating a group rule that says can only play one of them. And I'm going to do that again tonight. I like Kevin Durant in this spot, 9,700. The price tag seems fair. But again, keep in mind, this Rockets team, they've been a different team at home. And I think we see that tonight. And I think they push the Suns. And I think this ends up being a close game. And I think actually the Rockets might steal one. And a lot of that has to do like trusting Drew Eubanks down there in the paint, which I think is absolutely insane. So headed over the Rockets side, I think Şengün, I think this sets up to be such a nice spot for him. Jalen Green, we can't play. He's getting outplayed by Amen Thompson. And then Fred VanVleet seems a little too cheap. The problem with Fred VanVleet, though, is he's so passive right now. And actually, that's good for this team. You don't want Fred VanVleet like having to take over games. You'd rather Şengün running things. You'd rather, Jalen Green, when he's playing well, you would rather him, creating offensively. And now it's more Amen Thompson. So while Fred VanVleet, 6,700, it feels cheap. I do think there's risk there. Alperen Şengün, phenomenal play at the center spot tonight, 8,500. I think he could easily put up a 50-piece here against his Suns.
All right. Speaking of Eubanks, Wolf of Ball Street, great name, by the way. He's been so bad, Isaiah Stewart got suspended 3 games for punching him in the head.
Isaiah Stewart, man, this dude has a temper. Don't mess with that guy.
Definitely does. All right, talk to me, Mangone. Talk to us here. Break it down. Suns, Rockets, game 3 of 6.
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly going to be an important game, especially with the news that's dropping and more news to come. One thing to mention with like the FanDuel versus DK take is like, well, on a site like DraftKings, you can play 2 centers, and you can't on a site like FanDuel. And like some of these guys have forward eligibility versus center, which can change things up. Drew Eubanks is going to be a good play on both sites regardless. He's just a good play. You have to like the value if Nurkic is out, which I'm kind of expecting him to be out. That's my current take on that. And some of these other pieces, I definitely don't mind. But I want to think a little bit about it. Like in MME formats, I think Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, Royce O'Neal, Drew Eubanks, all of these values are in play. But do I want to play all of these values together? Do I want to play 2 of them, 3 of them? That's something to think a little bit about. I think if you want and you're using a normal optimizer and not something like SaberSim, I think you can make a group if you think that's okay. One thing I'll end up doing when it comes to SaberSim is I'll go look at the Suns teams and I'll say, how many of them have 3 or how many of them have 2? Like that's something I want to personally look at. You could also make a rule. I think max 1 of Eric Gordon and Grayson Allen. I don't think that's the worst idea. If this matchup was against the Washington Wizards or the Indiana Pacers, I probably wouldn't care as much about that rule. But against the Houston Rockets, I think I do, just because they play at a slower pace. And I want to play these options. Like one thing I noticed that maybe I shouldn't say I disagree with what Big T does, but Big T bumps a lot of the guys up sometimes. And when you bump all these guys up, I just think sometimes it pushes too many of them in there. And I think he does a good job with it afterwards. I don't think he showed it on the show, but you can go back into SaberSim and you can show that I don't want the 4 stacks of Suns or I don't want the 3 stacks of Suns. Those are things that I think really matter for sure when you're building your teams. Like if I run my teams and I get, let's say, like 40% Grayson Allen and like 10% Eric Gordon, I might go in and make an adjustment. So I'm just overweight on both. That's just how I like to handle it. But I think overall there are good plays here. But I think you want to watch of how you play them. I think that's a really important note. And Alex wants to mention, which I think we should mention, little Eric Gordon revenge for the people. So Suns are a good play. You have to like them here in this spot. But I do want to think about how I play them. And I want to think about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Like, I agree with AP. Do I want to play both of them together? Probably not in this matchup, especially when we have a bunch of other studs that I want to get to on this slate instead. So I'm not looking to get to both of them, but I am looking at playing one of them. I think they're both really good plays that you should be considering. In the Houston side of the ball, on this 6-game slate with some news to come, there's not that many plays I love. You can make the case that Fred VanVleet at 6'7", he's in play. I think Jabari Smith has upside at 6K. I don't mind him. Cam Whitmore's an okay value, but I think there's other values that are better in this range. And like Şengün and some of these other options like Jalen Green, I just can't get to them today. I think it's really Jabari Smith Jr. or Cam Whitmore, and that's really it for me.
Jeffrey Epstein checking in from hell. Grayson Allen is Ted. All right, let's keep moving on. Mangone, don't get comfortable, buddy. I'm coming right back at you for our next one. We don't have any injuries to really discuss with the Clippers at the Grizzlies. We got 222.5 total. Start with the Grizzlies here. I have a feeling AP is going to be on them. Do you want any Grizzlies tonight, Mr. Mangone?
No.
Why do you think I'm going to be on Grizzlies?
Just
they're like healthy and they're tanking right now.
Just settle down, AP. I'll let you know in a minute.
Jesus. Probably because you're like, if we had to pick a Grizzlies guy, AP, I think you are the Grizzlies guy if we have to pick one because you're buddy. But I don't really have any interest in the Grizzlies right now. They just seem like a stay away at this point. So I'm not that interested. When I dug through the props earlier today, there weren't many Grizzly props. And honestly, there weren't many props in this game. The only one that I noticed wasn't bad was there was a slight lean on James Harden's over. And like, speaking of like FanDuel, the Clippers always pop on FanDuel. Like the Hardens, the Georges, the Kawhis, those guys always pop up because they have really good ceilings. I wouldn't want to play them together. I'd want to play them all separate. I think that's a very important note. But overall, I'm staying away from this game for the most part, even from the studs. I don't think they're great plays on DraftKings. You could make a case that Paul George isn't the worst play because he's guard and forward eligible, so he can fit onto so many different roster construction, shooting guard, small forward guard, utility. You just play him in so many different spots that if he was like a last guy in, I wouldn't hate it. And then I do think on DraftKings specifically, Zubac isn't the worst play. You definitely can attack Memphis with big men. Zubac is off that minutes limit, and the Clippers want to play big. And I think Zubac at 5.4K, I talk about these guys that have really good ceilings at their price, and Zubac has that 40-point ceiling that you can't completely ignore. So I don't think Zubac's the craziest play at the center position in that range at 5,400.
All right, I'm just looking at the playbook where it literally says, I really don't want to touch this Memphis team. The playbook was written by AP today. So if you'd like to double down on your thoughts on Memphis and go against what I thought you were thinking, by all means, go ahead, AP. But in all seriousness, is there much to really even touch in this game?
Yeah. So, I mean, the Clippers, they're always tougher. It's just more mouths to feed between, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden. We saw that yesterday. We talked about that yesterday, actually. Zubac, my play of the day yesterday, had that game stayed closer. He what I say, he was going to get us 36 to 38. Had the game stayed closer, he was off all minutes limits. I think he gets there. 5 for 12 from the field for Zubac, who's usually highly efficient. Man, he had a path to absolutely smash. Now I like bigs against the Grizzlies, but it's a little misleading because this team, since they're in like tank mode right now, when Jaren Jackson is in the lineup, they are definitely better again down there in the paint at limiting opposing teams, opposing production. But Zubac is just such a different beast that I don't know. I'm not too worried. I think he gets some easy buckets. Jaren Jackson prone to fouling too, maybe some free throws there for big Zubac. But again, he's off minutes limit. You like this offense with him in there, especially with James Harden. I think there's a really strong connection just with James Harden being able to dish great. And Zubac, he's just underpriced. So I think he's going to be a great play again tonight. But outside of that, I struggle to really find any other plays here, unless with this being a back-to-back, we get some sort of news. But the crazy thing with the Clippers, they're one team that's like abiding by the rules, these resting the stars rules. Like Kawhi Leonard, he's been playing back-to-backs. Even Paul George may be limited on a back-to-back basis just a little bit, but he's been playing too. What I've noticed is in games where they're just either they have it in hand or like yesterday, they were getting steamrolled, Ty Lue will pull them. He will pull their guys, and they are pretty deep now. Like Norman Powell's been awesome off the bench. So if this game gets out of hand, I would not be surprised. And this is more of an MME type of play, but I would not be surprised if like Norman Powell had a big game. He's played back-to-back 30 minutes. His role from a scoring standpoint is nice off the bench. But again, he's like the same play as like a Gary Trent Jr., like raw scoring dependent, like a different than Grady Dick. But like you talked about how Grady Dick, he's raw scoring dependent. That's Norman Powell. You need the scoring to be there. Could it happen against a Grizzlies team that's in tank and evaluation mode? It definitely could. So I'll have him in my pool, not like a core play or building block or anything like that. I think he's a large field tournament play.
So Capella, 20 minutes. Okay, very good. Let's stay with the games. 2 more to go. Like button to be amazing. Let's get up. We got a monster crowd today. It's good to see. Wizards, Thunder. We got both teams on a back-to-back. AP, I'll come to you first on this one. So the Wizards last night, we're getting blown out early. But you know what? The Nuggets starters stayed in there. Everybody got to really where they needed to be. At least Jokic did. Thunder, on the other hand, here's another team going back to back. So a 242.5 total looks like a game that we might want to target unless you're worried about the blowout factor. Where's your worry there? And what's your take on the Wizards and Thunder tonight?
So I had to edit like my write-up for this game on the Wizards side like 2 or 3 times because I don't want people thinking like I don't want people thinking that I think this Wizards team's good. I think they're really bad. I think they have the potential down the stretch to be awesome for DFS if they stay in games. They suck defensively. They've tightened their rotation since firing their coach. We saw that. They brought Jordan Poole off the bench. And I actually like this quite a bit because when you think about these players, Tyus Jones, more of a traditional facilitator type of point guard. He can, he can dish. He also has that nice little floater, when he gets into the lane. I like this move that they made. And we've seen and we talked about this yesterday, Holden, but what I'm seeing in Tyus is really reminds me of what I saw in the Grizzlies when he took over for John Morant. We're starting to see that. He's built some chemistry with these guys. Koulibaly, obviously the rookie that they need to be starting, and they need to be playing 35 minutes a game to develop. Denny Abdia, he had the tough matchup assignment yesterday in the Nuggets. Probably saw what he did for 3 games up till the All-Star break and just shut him down. Absolutely shut him down. And then Kuzma was just in his bag. But it did not matter. But what did matter is they kept the game close enough to keep starters in. That's all I care about. Keep it within 20. 20 is kind of that number where your starters are going to be in. Now, if it's like third quarter or ending third quarter and it's like up 30, they're up by 30, that's when it's over. The scrubs are coming in, and that would be the big concern. But if this game stays close, it's going to be an absolute printer. Like Kyle Kuzma, what we saw yesterday, not the easiest of matchups either for Kyle Kuzma. And he was insane. His usage was like 37%, something like that. 12 for 25 from the field, 12 rebounds. And the other thing that I'm seeing is like Jordan Poole coming off the bench, not touching the ball as much, but the offensive usage rate absolutely spiked. Just under 30%, was 4 for 17. It's 17 field goal attempts. The guy was just letting them launch. Obviously, probably frustrated getting demoted to the bench, but I think this is better for the team. Can a guy like Jordan Poole buy into that? Probably not, because he's a little child. But again, I think it's going to be better for the Wizards, and it's going to be better for fantasy purposes too. So I think this game, if it stays close, you're going to want multiple pieces from it. Tyus Jones was actually excellent the first time these teams played. Kyle Kuzma was also excellent. So those are my 2 targets that I'm looking at. Marvin Bagley as well. Denny Avdia, you can go back to him. Koulibaly is a staple value for me just because I do think with the pace that the Thunder play at, that this will be a better spot for Koulibaly. And if the game gets blown out, we've seen Koulibaly play some blowout run too. We didn't see it yesterday, but again, you never know. It could definitely happen. So on the other side, it's SGA. I think the best play is Jalen Williams from a price standpoint, 7,200. My last comment here on the Thunder side is don't forget about these bench pieces. We saw it yesterday. We've seen it all season long. You see the secondary pieces get there against this Wizards team. So Isaiah Joe, who actually started the second half over Josh Giddey, I think he's very interesting. And, even like a Lou Dort, I think is firmly in play in this spot. I don't know what to do with Josh Giddey. Maybe Mangone does, but I don't really trust him. But this matchup is as good as it will possibly get for someone like Josh Giddey. So I'm really torn.
Terrific segue, AP. Let's start with Giddey here, Mangone. and how invested you want to be in this game.
I mean, I think Giddey is just one of those like MME guys. He's 5,700. He has a huge ceiling. Matchup against Washington, it is certainly possible. If this game does stay close and Josh Giddey plays the full way, it's going to be huge. If it doesn't stay close, he is probably going to lose that fourth quarter rotation more than likely and kind of be in a tougher spot. So he is strictly an MME play, and also not an MME play I want to have like 60% of or something egregious, right? Like I don't want that to kind of sink my teams a little bit. So that's how I would handle him. Jalen Williams at 7,200. I don't mind him at the forward spot. Chet Holmgren at 7,600. I don't mind him too against Washington. This is a spot where I think those two guys can really thrive in these matchups. So definitely will be targeting them. I know Chet Holmgren's a flow chart type play. And then I do agree with AP about the Isaiah Joe take. At 3,200, what he can do for your team. I kind of took a shot on Jose Alvarado a lot yesterday because I kind of believed in his bench role and the possibility that, hey, if the game does blow out, he could do well. So I do think that Isaiah Joe is kind of similar to what he was yesterday. So I'll take a shot on an Isaiah Joe. On the Washington side of the ball, the one thing I do like, and again, me and AP were talking about this a little bit in the Discord chat today. The Wizards, their ceilings at their prices and the minutes that they're playing with this new coach, it is more favorable for this team to play in more competitive games. When will those games come? I don't know, but I do want to make sure I'm taking advantage of these price tags and attacking these ceilings like Tyus Jones. I agree with AP and his role right now. Kyle Kuzma at his 7.4K price tag. I can't ignore the production that he could have in this matchup. Koulibaly at 4.2 getting a nice roll. Denny Avdia at 6.8. He's definitely been playing a little bit better. If he gets the full run, he has the ability to hit a nice ceiling at a small forward position that's typically a difficult one to roster. So I think these Wizards have to be in the conversation. I'm playing that $4. I'm playing 150 in it today, and I will have exposure to this Washington side. I will probably be overweight on them for sure. But one thing I will do, I'll go in and look at the Washington stacks, and I'll make sure I don't have like too much of these guys together. I think you want to have some, but like, I don't know, do I want to have like Denny Avdia and Kyle Kuzma together? Probably not. I do think those guys eat into each other a little bit. So that's another thing to think about a little bit. And maybe Isaiah Joe is another one to think on. Like, do I want to play Isaiah Joe with some of these Wizards? Maybe not, because you could lose that fourth quarter rotation. That's another thing to kind of think a little bit about when rostering these guys.
All right, our last game. Hit the like button, everybody. Nice crowd today. We appreciate you hanging out with us.
So, hey, real quick, Holden. So someone asked why Bagley played so little. He was getting absolutely cooked by Jokic. Like, I think they put Eugene Amori in there, who did a little bit better job in the second half.
Yeah.
Even Big T tweeting about it yesterday. But no, Bagley was getting roasted, like absolutely roasted. So that's why he saw so little minutes.
All right, let's keep rolling here. We've got one more game to go. And AP, I'll come right back at you, pal. It's Miami at New Orleans. My play of the day yesterday, Zion, paid off. I don't know if it's going to pay off tonight because he might not play because he's too fat to play back-to-back games, AP. But if he's in there, what do you think of Zion? How about the breakdown?
Yeah, so Basketball Monster had him as doubtful to start the day, but then the report came up. They filed, and he's a true questionable, along with Ingram. So, again, this is like the tough part because this team changes, so much. If there's a lot of scenarios to break down. If Zion and Ingram are out, you upgrade Herb Jones, who was excellent yesterday. Trey Murphy, you upgrade him. Even like a Najee Marshall, I would give a big upgrade to. I think Najee Marshall would be the sneaky play for sure as well. Can we expect the same type of performance from Joval? Not at all, in my opinion. I think this matchup against Bam is completely different. Joval absolutely nuked yesterday. So if you're chasing that, I would be a little bit cautious. CJ McCollum, I would bump him up too. The Heat side, but if they're all playing, it becomes a watered down situation where you don't necessarily, you could probably make the argument to like fade everyone here. So maybe Herb Jones, because he's 4'8", you could maybe slide him in. But again, if they're all healthy, I don't love it. The Miami side is like always tougher, but I will say I like what I saw from Jimmy up until the week or two leading up to the All-Star break. We saw what looked like a little bit more motivation, more offensive usage. He had a triple-double against again, mind you, it was against the Spurs, but prior to that, put up a 50 piece against Orlando. He put up some really nice numbers in tough matchups, which is like what Jimmy Butler does. And I would expect that tonight too. So when I ran things earlier this morning, I wasn't showing a ton of ownership. He's actually one of my favorite leverage-ish type of plays in this spot. Like Miami they know how to keep, they know how to stay in games. And a lot of it has to do with Jimmy Butler. And this is like a tough matchup. It's the type of matchup that I think Jimmy Butler gets up for. So I think we start getting on Jimmy Butler now. Now that we're past the All-Star game, now that we're getting more towards the playoffs, this is when you start to play Jimmy Butler. So I can definitely endorse it tonight.
All right, let's wrap it up here, Mangone. Are you a Jimmy Butler guy this evening? And I think the big news here we're waiting on is Tyler Hero, whether or not he's going to play. So we'll find out the fallout from that. But let's go. Jimmy Butler, yay or nay? Break down the last game.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely in play. I think there's a lot of different options in that 7K range that you can play at forward. I don't think he's bad. But I don't think I'm going to get to him. If Tyler Hero's out, that will definitely change my opinion a little bit on that. And I honestly think that even though he's out, I don't think it's going to change people's opinions as much as you think, just because some really good forward options below, like Kuzma, Jalen Williams, Evan Mobley, who could become just like a 60% owned play on this slate if Donovan Mitchell is ruled out. So, yeah, obviously the Pelican side is super important too. Like if Zion and Ingram miss, like both, I mean, dude, this slate would just be blown up. There'd be value plays all over the place for cheap that we'd want to consider. So that would be a really big piece of news. If one of them's out, obviously like some of those studs that you can get to. So there's a lot of pieces of the news in this game that it makes it hard to make the decisions right now. This is why we stress getting in the Discord chat. But if the news does hit, you do have to make some changes to your lineup. It's just hard to know. And if, let's say all these guys are ruled in, like, I don't love a lot of plays here. I think you could make a case that Valanciunas at 6'3" is cheap for his ceiling, but also I think his floor is really rough. And I think Zion at 7'9", if all those guys are in, you could still play him, but there's might just be better forward plays to play instead. So news is going to be really critical for me in this game.
All right, guys, 6:30 up to lock tonight, 6:30 Eastern, JSU, JBC. I'll be hosting there. AP Mangone, it's time now for the plays of the day. AP, I think you had a nice one yesterday. Who are we going for today?
Yeah, it was Zubac yesterday. I mean, he didn't disappoint. He did enough to get it done, especially at that ownership and especially like with how it panned out. I think I'm going to go with Jimmy Butler, 7-7. Obviously elevated if Tyler Hero's out. We don't have that news, but I'm playing him either way. I like him in these tough matchups. I think the spread of just, the Pelicans being favored by 3 points makes me think that one of, or maybe both, Zion and Ingram could be out, which again, I think this Pelicans team is good enough to battle against Miami and probably win, but it tells me that it's going to be a back and forth type of environment. And I like Jimmy at 7-7. So Jimmy Butler, my play of the day.
All right, Jimmy Butler, play of the day. Mangone, who's your play of the day?
Yeah, Holden, I will say I'm going to try to do better than you. Gave out a 56% own play in Zion. I'm just going to go out there and mention that. So,
hey,
was that yesterday?
Yeah, everybody's making fun of him. Okay, I went with the fat guy.
I mean, to be fair, the fat guy did good. I will say I've been off him all year, and I got on board recently.
Well, what's Chet Holmgren going to be owned at tonight? Because he's going up against the Wizards. He's my play of the day. What's Chester at?
Not as much as Zion. Not as much as Zion.
I think Chet's a definitely better one, Holden. So there you go. Right. And I like the Chet Holmgren call. I think that's a good one. Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know where I lost my spot.
Just say Chet Holmgren, and then we can move on, and I can go to P and go to the next show.
No, I need to figure out why I'm trying to find someone on my SaberSim stuff because I don't like the guy I'm giving right now. I don't think it's a good one. So I'm trying to. I don't know why my SaberSim just only showing Bam Adebayo. So let me look at my 3 max and make a decision on a play.
His Bam Adebayo is Mangone's play of the day.
No, Bam Adebayo is not my guy.
I mean, Mangone, you don't go to bed every night like thinking about what your play of the day is going to. Like, I know what my play of the day is going to be for tomorrow, for Sunday, for Monday, for Tuesday. No, I'm just kidding. But it is one of those things that's tough.
I wasn't kidding like about having to go to the bathroom, guys. Can we make this a little faster, please?
Well, no, take your time, Mangone.
I've been holding on to this for like an hour.
No, I'm going to go with this guy. He's a mid-tierish play. I don't think he's going to gain too much traction ownership-wise, but we'll go with Grayson Allen, 5,400. I don't love the matchup against the Rockets, I'll say that, but I think the usage is too good to pass up, and I think people are going to play a lot of those 4K guys instead. So we're going to go with Grayson Allen as my play of the day. And Adam, listen, Rome wasn't built overnight, okay? So settle down.
As one of our viewers said, Grayson Allen is Ted Cruz with a jumper. You're going with Ted Cruz with a jumper. And if you've never seen the machine gun,
that is actually
video,
true.
No, he does look like him. Ted Cruz is getting bookies tonight.
All right, like button on the way out. Up to lock starting in about 30, 35 minutes from right now. RPS 15, first payment 15% off. Get in right now. See how you do it tonight and over the next month, or sign up for a monthly plan. It'll be great. For AP, Mango, and I'm Holden. Please keep running pure.